This is basically a physical embodiment of your Steam library, right? And so all the choices we've made, all the decisions we've made as a team really were about how do we bring and extend that Steam experience into a piece of hardware that is one object, right? And I think that balance of trade-offs, that and the balance of the inputs and the display and all the thermal, everything, battery, I think it's something we're super proud of, right? And it's a careful balance. It comes from a bunch of different personalities and a diverse set of team talking and arguing and doing all those things to make something like this.
We knew that the price point was very important, so we designed, as Yazan and Pirlo said, from the beginning, we designed with that in mind, and we worked very, very hard to achieve the price point that we're at.
Yeah, at the same time, we weren't going to sacrifice on fit and finish quality, right? We knew that we needed this device to be premium in feel, premium in look, right? We wanted it to convey all the positive attributes of your Steam experience, right, in a physical manifestation, right? In order to do that, we really wanted to. We leveraged all the experience and learnings from things like Index and how do we make something super high quality and make it feel really robust, right? And so we weren't going to sacrifice those. So balancing that in this atmosphere of supply chain and manufacturing toughness, was something that we knew from the very beginning that we weren't going to sacrifice it, so we needed to find a way. How do we find a way to do that?
The whole thing is powered with a custom APU that we basically worked with AMD on to deliver the best performance and the best battery life possible in this envelope. I think it's very, very difficult for us to make direct comparisons to anything, but we think that we were able to achieve a point where all the games that we wanted to be playable at really good perf, at a really good experience.
We've been looking at various games over the past few years in the back catalog, but the real test for us was the games that were coming out last year. It just couldn't really run very well on the previous types of prototypes and architectures that we were testing. And this is the first time that we've achieved the level of performance that is required to really run the latest generations of games without problem. All the games that we wanted to be playable is really the entire Steam library there. We haven't really found something that we could throw at this device that it couldn't handle, at least yet.
We've experimented with other previous generation processors or off-the-shelf processors, and even in this form factor and this power envelope. And it wasn't until now that we felt like the entire Steam catalog is available to people who have this device. And I think that's where we knew that we have a product that is going to deliver the experience that we were looking for.
So far, we're looking pretty good. I think everything that's been coming out this year has been running without issues that we've tried. I think this is largely a factor of industry trends. If people are still valuing high frame rates and high resolutions on different platforms, I think that content will scale down to our 800p 30 hertz target really well. If people start heavily favoring image quality, then we might be in a position where we might have trade-offs, but we haven't really seen that yet.
I think a big factor is that we are using the latest generation GPU from AMD. We are using the new generation CPU from AMD. Even the memory itself, actually, we're using LPDDR5, which is a brand new to the industry. I think might actually be one of the first products to showcase this new memory technology. So in that sense, that gives a lot of future-proofing, especially since we're not the only people with this architecture. Any user that has it and any optimization that game developers make for this new architecture will carry forward to us and benefits as well. So I think we're in a great place.
Right now, the experience of installing games on removable storage like the SD card is done through the device. We've actually done quite a bit of work in Steam to support dynamically removable Steam libraries and improve the experience there. I think that there's going to be opportunities to build more software there to get to a point where you can preload games on an SD card with a different device, but we haven't really explored what could be done there. So right now, everything is done from the device, and it's a pretty good experience where you can just install the games the way you'd expect and load them up. It's just like, you know, if they were on the internal storage, and there's not really a difference in terms of experience. The performance, though, is a little bit different.
I mean, there's definitely a difference in performance. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. But we do think that, like, even if you're using an SD card, the experience is still good. You will notice that load times are pretty great. You know, obviously every game is different and every access pattern is different. But at the end of the day, I think our benchmark for that was give it to a whole bunch of people, have them use the SD card, and see what their reaction is. And I think the overwhelming reaction was that using the SD card was a great experience, and they felt like it was comparable, not quite as good, but comparable to using the internal drive. So we are using a standard M.2 NVMe SSD in there. We think that it delivers great load times and great save times. We are, you know, so like we did actually intentionally make it so that, again, with replayability in mind, it's a separate module. We went against the trend of putting it directly on the motherboard. And we're using kind of PCIe Gen 3 by 4, so like the bandwidth available to the user is great there as well. But actually, even on the SD card front, we did spend a lot of time optimizing that. So even if you're using an SD card, you're actually going to get some really great performance as well. We have history with trackpads. I mean, there's a lot of research that was done, you know, a long time ago that made it feel like that trackpads are really one of the most versatile input methods that kind of gives you the best bang for the buck in terms of being able to play all these games on Steam. But we didn't really take any of that for granted. We did sort of start we did kind of re-verify all that, and also did a lot of improvements. So the trackpads themselves, in terms of hardware, I mean, they're lower latency than Steam controllers. We added the force-sensitive sensors on there, so you could sort of adjust how much force you want to exert to actuate certain events. But really, it's more about it's a very versatile input method. I mean, people who really want to invest the time to customize it will get a lot of benefits out of it. And so, yeah, we're excited to see how people use it, really.
The touchpads are unique to this device, right? I mean, that's again part of extending the Steam library, right? Like certain games are just not going to be as great with thumbsticks, right? So, you know, again, there's some learnings from other products that we've made on those touchpads for sure, right? Everything from the underlying electronics that Yazan can speak more deeply about, to even the texture and the material of the top of the touchpad itself is something that we've gotten to from learnings on other products.
I mean, touchscreen is, I mean, gyro's obviously great. Touchscreen is another kind of new input method, right? Like, it's not common to have a touchscreen. Well, I mean, it is, so touchscreen is another input method that's not common, and like, you could really utilize that to kind of emulate some of the mouse and keyboard features. But also on the software side of things as well, like the Steam API, input API and customizations and all that is kind of critical. But yeah, I think it's really about like giving them a diverse set of inputs that people can kind of customize and play the games that they want to play as they like to play it, basically.
We knew, you know, what screen size would kind of be what we felt was optimal for how you use it and how you hold it. I think the ergonomics in the beginning, we were like, well, in order to figure out display, we didn't really have to fine tune the ergonomics, right? But then once we kind of figured that out, and the battery volume and life, how long the batteries would last based on that volume, then we really needed to dive deep on the ergonomics, and that changed significantly from the first prototype.
And that needed just a lot of play testing time on it for comfort and playability, and then, you know, a lot of different members of the team contributing to play testing in order to have different hand sizes and different regions where they play, etc. tested out. Right. Another thing that we wanted to add is that we actually engaged with our manufacturing partners early on to build multiples of these prototypes, so in the order of 50 or so, because we had to ensure that we could hand them out and have a lot of playtime on each device in order to learn those things.
I think that allows the gyro, which is already something that was a great feature in our input set that we've been supporting in hardware and Steam Input for a long time. That allows it to really shine and be very intuitive to use, even if you're a thumbstick player that doesn't want to deal with, you know, trackpad or learning the other inputs. So we're really happy with where we landed there.